pandemic got us into a reflective space and made us look inward to see what we can do for the world at large. As a self-expression coach, I became a catalyst for women and started Vani, a one-on-one coaching program for women on finding their voice, to speak up, to be visible. As a storyteller, I spotted there were many ordinary people amongst us leading extraordinary lives, making a difference to the world, and they needed to be heard. Thus was born You and I with Rashmi Shetty, where amazing personal journeys with their uniqueness and individuality are showcased, a reaffirmation of the fact: open your eyes wider. The world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Our guest today is Maya Chandra, a communication specialist and corporate filmmaker. She is one of the very few women in the country and a leader in Karnataka who has established her name in the corporate filmmaking industry. Armed with a master's degree in mass communication with a specialization in video filmmaking from Boston and work experience with Columbia Broadcasting Service (CBS) Boston, Maya returned to her roots in Bangalore. Starting off as an editor, one of the only women editors in Bangalore, she then ventured into corporate film production. Her company, MAYA, a film production house based out of Bangalore with over 18 years in the business, having worked in a variety of challenging domains, has successfully maintained the balance of working with both the corporate world and the state government, with whom she still carries on her creative journey in government and political communications. She ventured into the healthcare sector too and pioneered in bringing in many initiatives in hospital and healthcare communications. The multiple award-winning Maya Chandra also combines a successful academic career as she teaches filmmaking to postgraduate students and has lectured at institutes in India and abroad. Listen in as Maya shares her inspirational journey. Hi Maya, welcome to You and I with Rashmi Shetty.
Hey, thanks, Rashmi.
You and I stands for uniqueness and individuality of each guest who comes in to share his or her story. I realized that each one of us has a unique story to tell and an individualistic journey that we take in this journey called life, which is so our own. And it's these reflective journeys that tell us what influenced us to become who we have eventually turned out to be. And that's what the journey is about, Maya, even now. So, little Maya to the Maya Chandra that we see before us, the filmmaker, is what this journey is all about. So, you choose where you want to take us. I just come along and ask you questions when I'm curious. Okay?
Yeah, sure, Rashmi. Rashmi, I've been born and brought up in Basvangudi. The same, believe me, it's the same heritage house that I've been born, and I'm still continuing to live in this house. That itself is a blessing, according to me. And it's been wonderful. I'm still here and went to school at home school, which is a nearby school, and the Mahila Seva Samaj, which was an all-girls high school. Both legendary institutions in their own right today. And again, why I feel so blessed is because as a filmmaker, I ended up making a film for my school's 100th centenary year, and a documentary about the legacy of the institution as an alumni. And that's why I feel a lot linked, and there's so much of soul and energy in this whole thing that I have lived in Basangudi for. And so I went to high school there and then went to college at NMKRV, PU College, all women's again, and then continued with NMKRV degree college. And again, at both these institutions today, when I look back, I'm sitting as the board of trustees on both these institutions and on the governing board of RVPU College. So it's like, an entire circle of life that has come forward from my childhood to my education to then becoming a career person, entrepreneur, and then giving back to the institutions that I have studied. I don't know how many people are really blessed in the way that I am blessed. So this is what it was. And after the degree, I did my BA in psychology, English literature, and journalism. Those days it was journalism, isn't it? And this was one of the institutions that was the early pioneers of journalism education. And I studied there. So I had taken up three subjects: psychology, journalism, and English literature. And in all the three subjects, when we were studying, there were such wonderful teachers that we had, and wonderful inspiration that they gave us for each of the subjects, that we became so passionate about all the three subjects. And at the end of 3 years after I got out of my degree, it really put me in a dilemma as to which subject should I follow for my higher education. And it was important that I take up a subject and follow it up. And I had done well in all the three subjects. In fact, I got a gold medal in English literature. And all my English teachers were like, at my neck, go into this, go into this. Psychology was equally fascinating for me. Journalism was equally fascinating. I had done a lot of work as an intern, as a student, looking after the lab journal and looking up and writing reviews for Deccan Herald. I had already started all that. So that's how, it became a dilemma. And then I kind of shortlisted myself into psychology, Believe it or not, I went into MA psychology into Bangalore University and went there for about 2 months. And then I said, no, something else is pulling me this side. And then I went back into journalism, then took up post-graduation degree that Bangalore University was offering in mass communication at that time. So I went into that, and then I kind of made up my mind that I want to get into journalism, get into broadcast journalism as I move forward. So that's where my entire mindset was going into. So we did the post-graduation in journalism, in mass communication. And that time, the classes were held at the University Visvesvaraya College of Engineering, UVC. That was where the mass communication classes were being held. And again, there was a wonderful set of teachers, very senior, very experienced people, wonderful batchmates, classmates, and we are all connected even to this day. And we all, had a wonderful 1 year. And the second year, that for some reason, that department is always a little troublesome. So there were some things going on, trouble going on. And the second year, they never started. So I was not able to complete my master's program. So it was just 1 year of master's. Second year, the university decided to, stop it. And they were going to take more time. So I was left with no choice but to go to US and to complete my master's. So I went to, the first pick was Boston because my sister was staying there and she was already doing her doctoral work that time. So I decided to go to Boston and hunt for colleges. So it was not like you prepared and went those days. I went and then discovered Emerson College in Boston to be one of the most significant colleges for mass communication education. Then I did my TOEFL and GRE while I was in the US. And got good scores, got a good grade in GRE. And then I got admission into Emerson College for my master's program in Boston. So that's when the journey of the Boston story starts. At that time, it was very nascent in India. It was just Doordarshan and it was just anchoring for Doordarshan. That's all was there. There was no professional education when it came to broadcast journalism. And I was very interested to pursue that.
What drew you to broadcast journalism?
See, basically, I enjoyed being a journalism student. And I was not willing to be stuck for a print medium. Somehow I wanted the audiovisual medium. I had this craving in me that I have to be looking at filmmaking in a different way, but I was very focused on broadcast journalism. I wanted to be a reporter. I wanted to do all these things, in front, to go into war front and report from there. And, all those dreams of little, when you get into master's program. So, and then my father had this great vision for me that either you should become an IAS officer or you should become like Barbara Walters. Barbara Walters was one of the very, very high level interviewers on American television. Yes. And my parents travel often to US and here, and he used to have businesses in both countries, my dad. So he was terribly inspired by Barbara Walters. So what happened? I did my 2 years. Within 2 years, I completed my master's program. Very, very tough program, and I got an internship at CBS in Boston, that is Columbia Broadcasting Service, which was right there in the heart of Boston. It is one of the major networks in America. So I started interning there, and from college there was an internship module, and I started interning there, and it was a wonderful internship, and it was a little how do I say, surprising for me, because they put me as an intern for a show that deals with minorities. Okay. I didn't get into the mainstream shows. They were very smart in that. Okay. And this is where I'll further talk to you about how racism came into play at a certain point of my career. So I went into that, and I didn't mind it. I said, that's great. I can get a start somewhere. And it was again a blessing in disguise, because I was very, very passionate about this. And then I started interning, and I had a producer who was a Black lady. I had an anchor for the show who was again a Black lady, and another co-anchor with her who was a Black person, Black guy. So, and then entire team was composed of Black people. And they really took me into their fold with open arms, And so much of training they gave me, and they groomed me and nurtured me. And they, as an intern, you're not even supposed to touch the cables in the television station. But here was Tina, who was my producer, who said, Maya, listen, I know what you're gunning for, and you have a lot of potential. So I'm going to let you even produce shows, And that's where, it was so exciting for me that I took the opportunity and went full stead into my internship and took every opportunity into that. And they let me do shows. They let me do, the edit, sitting in the edit room. And the cameraman, everybody became very good friends with me. And like that, I started mixing with the other teams, the news teams and all that in Boston. And most of my time was spent in the television station. And I enjoyed those days. And I spent and made a lot of friends with all the main anchors, the primetime anchors, the white guys, the Black guys, and everybody else. And I became extremely popular. And it was a place that I was like calling my second home there. And spent a lot of hours learning. And they also appreciated that. And it became like a beautiful association. And after I finished my internship, I finished my graduation, and I continued they extended my internship. They said, we want you here. And I did that very important pieces for the show. It was a minority show called Urban Update. And I went around Boston, and fortunately for me, there was a Festival of India going on in the Boston Museum at that time. And the chief minister at that time was Ramakrishna Hegde. And he had visited Boston for this exhibition on India. And my producer said, who else can cover this except you? So we'll give you the story, go and do the story. So I went and did the story on the Festival of India and met Mr. Ramakrishna Hegde. And then I asked him for an interview, and he said, oh, definitely. I mean, you're from Bangalore. I will definitely give you an interview. And then he asked me to come to his hotel room. And then I took my crew and went to the hotel room and did a one-on-one interview with Mr. Ramakrishna Hegde. So after that, this story came on the Urban Update program. And my internship continued. I graduated with my master's degree in mass communication and filmmaking. I had taken filmmaking also as one of the subjects of specialization. corporate filmmaking was one of the options that I had, and I had taken that up. And while I was working, I wanted to pay for my education. So I started looking for an on campus job. And again, fortunately for me, I got a job in what they call as a depot. Okay. The depot was the place where all the camera equipment was being held. It was like a studio come storeroom. And they asked me to work there as a grad assistant. And I worked in that place, which involved giving out cameras to students and making notes of it, who takes what, and that kind of admin job. And it again gave me a fantastic exposure to handling cameras, learning more about the cameras. And the person, my boss in that place, was a guy called Dan. And he again took a lot of interest in grooming me. And he said, this place is yours. You do what you want. You want to make films, you want to do anything, you want to learn editing, everything we will teach you. So the basement of the building had edit suites. And these were the old time edit suites where you had to literally, use that. This is a manual edit suites. Mm-hmm. So I got this fantastic opportunity to, work on the edit suites, which no other students get, because I was a grad assistant in that place, and they allowed me to work any number of hours. So I ended up spending very late evenings in Boston in the edit rooms, learning editing, and also editing for other students and things like that. So it gave me a lot of grounding and technical knowledge about editing and everything. And Dan was so helpful. He would give me all privileges to work on equipment. I could take the equipment whenever it was free. And the Charles River was flowing right behind us. And there was a lovely Boston Park and all that. So I had the opportunity to take out the camera and do stories on my own and come back and edit and, do all those things. So it was so fantastic and blessing all the way. And I ended up with this, knowledge of editing, and all that happened. And by then, CBS offered me a job. They said, we want to give you a job. Why don't you turn the internship into a job? And I really liked that opportunity. Although I was wanting to come back, I didn't want to work there. But since I got the job, I said, okay, let me try it out for a couple of months or maybe a year maximum, and then come back. But then I realized, when it came to employment, that racism really played a very big role. There was a black girl and there was me who was pitching for the same, they interviewed us for the same position as a production assistant, and ended up that she got the job and I didn't, because my producer was backing me, my anchors were backing me, everybody was backing me, and they were not backing the black girl. But still, the main guys who HR and all who had to really confirm the job, they chose her over me. And that's when it really hit me to say that, hey, listen, if this is happening, guys, I'm not going to fight this through and be in another country as a second citizen. So that's not going to happen to me. So let me go back to my country and chart my own path with all this knowledge that I have gained and the good friendships that I have gained. And so that I took a decision that I was going to come back. I've learned a lot of things, and I learned at the college also. And I did leave with a very large heart, no regrets. I just left. And, it was heartening to see that the anchor people who I was working with, they in fact came to see me off at the airport. And that was so touching. And, they came with gifts, and they came and they said, we're going to miss you a lot. Please be in touch. And trust me, I have kept in touch. And I still am connected with them. Whenever I go back to US and I'm in Boston, I make sure that I connect with them, I talk to them, and they're so proud to see what I have become today. And that is amazing. All my connections, all the people who have made a difference in my life, I'm connected with. My teachers, my mentors at CBS, and my very, very good friends in Boston who really stood by me and who helped me through this process. Everyone is connected with me, even after 25 years. And this is where my life stands. So I came back, and I came back to Bangalore. And believe me, that was a different start of another journey, because Bangalore, India at that time didn't have any opportunities for.
Yeah, it was a very different Bangalore
Yeah,
compared
it
to.
was very different. There was only Doordarshan,
Oh.
and there was a channel. I mean, there was a product called News Track. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I do, I do.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was brought out by the India Today people.
India today. Yeah, yeah.
And it was a cassette,
Yes.
VHS cassette with news feature,
Yeah, yeah.
which would be like a subscription based thing.
Yes.
And while I was, like I said, I was so much into broadcast journalism, and I did not want to do darshan. I wanted to make some way in my own way.
Mm.
So I was scouting around, and then I found out that Hindustan Times Karan Thapar was starting something. And that time, Madhu Trehan was on News Track.
Yes.
So I contacted both these people, and both of them offered me a job.
Okay.
So, but it involved moving to Delhi or moving to Calcutta or whatever, which my parents were not very happy about at that time. And so they said, no, no, if you want to do some freelance work, and it's not going to happen that you're going to move out and go into Delhi. And earning was not the compulsion. Doing something which would define you was important for me.
Hmm.
And I was my own self, my own camera, my own this thing, my own stories. Somehow I got to meet Mr. Ramakrishna Hegde at that time.
Okay.
And then the elections were on. And then he said, when I went and met him, Mrs. Leela Devi Prasad was also a minister in his cabinet. So he said, why don't you do some election work for us? And, I started doing silly election work. I didn't realize that this was a seed of political and government communication that I later actually curated on an entire new domain when I set up my company. But the start was here in Ramakrishna Hegde's time. And Leela Devi Prasad, I would follow her when she was going on campaigning with my camera, and, take some silly bites and then edit it together and then piece it together and give it to them. And they would use it for their campaigning. It was all VHS, VHS, VHS. There was no ads or anything. So little grounding happened like this. And then I moved into, like, say, can I do some editing also? So somehow this broadcast journalism, unless I decided to go into Doordarshan, it was not working out. So I had to really rethink my strategy and understand what I'm going to be doing from now onwards. And then I started saying, okay, let me start doing some editing work. And I want to be the first woman editor in Bangalore, and all that kind of, thing went into my head. So I started waiting at edit rooms outside, sitting outside editing rooms and waiting for people to give me a job. There were 2-3 private editing rooms in Bangalore, and I would sit outside and wait. And what are your credentials? Oh, I've come back from US with a master's degree and no editing and this and that stuff. So people thought, oh, she's got so much attitude and she's a woman. And how do we give her editing? How will she edit and all that? I mean, we don't even trust her. So just wait, ma'am, we'll see. So days went, and days and weeks would go. Every day I would go sit and think some editing job will come up. So nothing was happening. And then again, one more person turns up, G.S. Bhaskar. I think you know him. He's a cinematographer.
Yes.
Again, one more mentor in my step. And he came and he looked at me, and he saw that I was sitting there for many days and waiting for edit. He said, would you like to edit for me? I said, okay, why not? We'll try it out. Then I had, all these demands. I want 2 screens for my editing. That's how I've learned in the US. I can't do it with 1 screen. And all that kind of, you when you come back, you have your own attitude. You want to throw it out. They didn't like it. Although I was very, technically right in asking for 2 monitors and all, they didn't like this at all. So they started saying, oh, she has too much attitude. What nonsense. We can't work with her and all. But Bhaskar was comfortable. He said, no, let me work with her. I'll try and see how we can do this. So they set up what I wanted, and I started editing for Bhaskar, and it worked out fine. He loved my editing. And it was again after that, editing jobs started coming. I worked on a very major edit of a documentary for a photographer called Radha Krishna. I don't know you remember him. He was the guy who started photography for Titan.
Oh, okay.
Very, very expensive and high level photographer. And he was doing documentaries. And then he asked me to edit for him. And, I edited a documentary for him.
And how did his contact come through Bhaskar?
Through Bhaskar, or I don't know how it came. Maybe when I was waiting in those edit studios somewhere, I don't recollect exactly how Radha came up to me and asked. And he was very popularly known as Radha. He'd done some awesome work. I mean, he was like the guy to go to, and everybody had this starry-eyed in, looking at him. He was that level photographer. He and Sudhir Ramchandra, they really redefined advertising photography in Bangalore. And I did some work with Radha, and then came while I was doing all this work, and in that same studio when I was working, I met another person called Bala, and he was a cinematographer, and he was looking out for somebody to assist him and to work with him on a full-time basis. And then I said, okay. And I started working with him and his company. We started doing corporate films because those days there was nothing else except corporate films. Okay. And there was hardcore industrial films of factories which made batteries.
The names you're dropping are of men, and you are a lone woman there.
Yes, yes.
You set out to be Bangalore's first editor.
Yes.
And looking back now, how was that journey? Did it even hit you anywhere that you were the lone woman among so many men who were so used to seeing, or they just took you in as one of the other technical people?
Yeah, they just took me in after some time. After they saw my work.
But to get in,
where the problem was, because it was highly male dominated.
Yeah.
It was not easy. And the trust factor was very low.
Yeah.
And plus I had come back from US. That means like, what does she think of herself? You think we all didn't learn editing or what? So that kind of attitude they would throw at me. But, I stayed, I started realizing I need to be a little less attitude and more humble.
For you to stay motivated extrinsically, but change intrinsically, and it shifts in the way you talk, the way you have your relationship with your boss, and how you handle yourself in these studios. So what did you tell yourself to get there, to be the Maya the world wanted?
I just wanted to, chart a career. That was very important for me. And these are obstacles. I know I was going against the odds. I was going against the tide. But there was no option at that time. I had to stay grounded because there was a couple of years that I had to take in for me to come to a stage where I could become an entrepreneur. Unless I did that, unless I put my stake in the industry, unless I proved myself in the industry, nobody was going to take me seriously. And it needed that kind of time to build the network, to build the social contacts. But I don't think I was doing it consciously at all. Now coming back to think about it, maybe that is how I dwelled in those couple of years that I was, working for other people. But inside of me was telling me that I can't keep on doing this, working for other people. I'm just far too independent. I cannot do this. So I needed to give myself the time and the commitment, and the learning also was very important, because I can't just come out and be an entrepreneur when nobody is recognizing me.
So what drove you? The ambition to be an independent filmmaker one day, or the thought that, Maya, you have to do this in order to be what you aspire to be? What were your thoughts internally driving you?
Internally, it was basically I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I wanted to have my own company, wanted to make the films that I wanted to make. Very, very important that I had. I can't keep on making films that clients ask you to make.
Correct.
I had to have the freedom of choice and freedom to express myself and creative interests and a lot of things like that. But those years were important because there was need for learning how to develop business, how to develop contacts, and what is it that I can do. Never, I think, in my life have I been consciously driving and saying I want to do this because I want to achieve this. It's just happened, and I've gone with the water.
Yeah.
It's like a river. I've taken the turns and I've gone into the water, and I've charted it along the way, staying grounded and staying strong. And so after this Bala thing came about, we were working together for quite some time, and a couple of years, 2-3 years, we did corporate films. And then we all came up with this idea that why not start a company as 4 directors. There were 2 other very good friends of ours who were in print business. And we 2 were in videos. So we decided, okay, that's great. Let's start a company together. And we became 4C Multimedia, 4 C's. Yeah. So all of us, the 4 of us, and multimedia. So we set up Bangalore's very large production house on Infantry Road. And I was part of the direction team. I was part of the business development team in that company. And the 4 of us were directors. And a lot of money we borrowed and to set up the company, because we brought in the first Silicon Graphics animation machine into Bangalore. It was a very expensive machine at that time. And Silicon Graphics is the industry standard today. But those days, one machine costed 45 lakhs. Oh. And that was a huge investment. Yeah. It was involved a lot of bank borrowing. We got the first machine. We said, no, we have to become a good animation company and give an end-to-end kind of support for clients, where we can start from the concept to the final product. And those days, a lot of industrial films and advertisements involved graphics, 3D graphics. And it was very essential for us to set up state-of-the-art. So a very lovely office we set up, which I designed myself, and then we ran the company. I was mainly in charge of business development. So the company had its own ups and downs, and 4 partners, you know how it is, a lot of trauma, a lot of hurdles. And somehow I stayed in again, learning the ropes of the business for about 8 to 9 years. We stayed together and built the company to a level where, a lot of borrowings and a lot of mismanagement and all the things by the directors, and all of us put in money and all of us lost a lot of finances on that. So when I decided to get out, it was already the year 2000. And I decided to exit the company after clearing all the loans. That was my commitment. Okay, I'm part of this. I'm part of the borrowings. I'm part of the whole thing. So let me just give what my share is and part with whole thing very amicably. So that's how my part was given away. I had given back all the facilities that I got from the company. Somehow at 2000, I was like completely starting on a new slate. Financially, emotionally, mentally, career-wise, everything, it started on a new, very, very new slate. With all that high going down, then there was a very big fall. Financially, mostly, the burden was. And career-wise also, because you are in this ship, and then suddenly the ship sank, and then you swam to the river, swam to the shore, and then you're sitting there wondering, okay, what am I going to do now? So that was a very big turning point of my career, a very low point of my career, where I spent almost 6 months trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Do I get disheartened by this, and do I go into teaching or academics, or get back into working for somebody, or what? And then so it took a lot of introspection. I took time off and decided and sorted out my mind and everything else, and got back into the mainstream. And started doing small work. Like I had a client like JSS, who had already given me a job for my previous company, and I had developed that contact. And they said, no, now that you've left the company, we want you only to do it. So that's how it started, very small, and they gave me a lot of freedom to do the work, and I started working out of different studios. Because I didn't have the wherewithal to set up my own place. So I started working at different studios and taking on camera people and managing the little finances that I was getting. I was able to manage it and somehow chart new roads at that time. So So it started very small. They gave me an initial, I would say that today it is like my seed money, which JSS gave me. And I started with that and then made a corporate film for them. And then after that, the one after one, the work started coming in.
There are a lot of us who set out on the entrepreneurial journey, and not everyone gets a continuous high. There are times like this where everybody comes back below ground zero, and
Right.
then you slowly rise up to ground zero.
Yes.
And at that time, that journey below ground zero to ground zero till you take off that small little flight, what is it that you would like to tell them? Because many people then have no patience because they're not sure how the world would be. And especially in times like these, when everything is uncertain around you, what is it? Because your time, though there was no pandemic at that time, was more or less similar because the market was like it is today.
Yeah.
Nascent, a new, everything there suddenly and not there suddenly.
Yeah.
So at a junction like that, what is it that drives you from below ground zero to come to ground zero to for you to find that footing? And if there is something that you now reflect to understand what drove you, what would you point it to?
See, the last few years at 4C was very traumatic because there were losses and the company was not being managed properly by directors, and blame games going on, and being the only woman among three male directors was again having its own share of trauma. And we had a huge burden because we had employed almost 30 plus people in the company, and salaries were not being paid. Mainly, I would say, I was doing my business development, but the fund management was being done by the directors, and that's where things got a little haywire. At that point of time, you know how it is. You just don't realize many things in business, and you get really, run over, I would say. So I needed time to reflect. I needed time to quietly sit down. After 8 years of working, it was like absolute 24/7 working. 8 to 9 years, I would say. The 10th year is when this happened. So it was very, very traumatic. They were working so hard. I mean, you would not even have a car to go. You would take a bus and go to Infantry Road, Shivaji Nagar. You'd get off, walk to office. Then again, late night, you would not even be coming back. You would be sitting in edit rooms, working through the edits. And early morning, you would come back home, take a shower, and go back again. So my parents have seen all this. It was like very, very traumatic working hours. And no phones and all those mobiles and internet and all those things were not there at that time. So you were dependent on public transport. I didn't have my own car. And those are the kinds of real trauma that you went through. And it really, really made me harder and harder and harder on that front. Because I was ready. I think, fearless to a large degree. I think I would say that. Whatever happens, I know I'm going to survive was my fearlessness. Wow. I think that's what it was. And when I came out, it was time to just sit quietly for 3 months at home and do nothing and just reflect and understand what has happened. How do I come out of this? How do I reshape my life? And how do I take things in my stride? So that entire thunderstorm required a little calm. And that's what the 3 months gave me. A lot of reading. I did a lot of reading at that time. A lot of very good books that I did read, and it just soothed me to a large extent. And I just had spent time with myself to understand myself. My parents were abroad at that time. They were not here. So they were not really, I'm glad that they were not witness to all this. So I was there by myself in this large house and spent a lot of quality time with myself and trying to understand what I need to do. Yeah. And then fortunately JSS came, and then this happened, and then the work started. And then one by one, the jobs started coming. And many people in the government by then had recognized my work in corporate communications. So my corporate films were recognized when I started working out of studios. And that's when I got a call in 2000 from the government Department of Information Technology and they were going on a full stream promotional venture at that time. They wanted to promote brand Bangalore to the IT industry across the world. So I got called for that, and then that time the bureaucrats were very, very amazing set of bureaucrats that I worked with, and they recognized my professionalism, and they took my ideas and suggestions as to how we can build brand Bangalore. And I started getting jobs from that department, you know. And that's when the start of my government communications work actually started in the year 2000 with Mr. S.M. Krishna and his team. Mm-hmm. And it was not any party affiliation or any influence or anything that I got through. It was basically they recognized me that I was doing work for a lot of corporates. I was doing work with people like GE and all that at that time. Okay. And government was highly involved in all these different setups. Mm-hmm. And that time they recognized, and then they called, and then we started making films for this department. And it somehow became a normal venture for me. When I suggested that we should take testimonials from a lot of foreign leaders who are visiting Bangalore, the testimonials become an important part of promotion. I started strategizing, and I started telling them, let's do this, let's do that. So they were agreeable. And for very small amounts, I would do the work, you know, because it was just me and my one camera and cameraman I had to hire. And then I had to go to an edit studio, and I had to pay some minimum charges, 2-3 hours, edit it, and then give it to them. Actually, CDs those days. So I started doing that. Then they gave me opportunities to interview delegates VIPs who would come and visit Bangalore. So one by one, these people realized that it was a good thing that we were doing. And we documented all these testimonials. And they became like the spokespeople for Karnataka's brand, for Bangalore's brand. And it went all over the place. They were taking it to road shows. The CDs were being printed and given in hundreds. So I developed a contact who would make CDs for me on multiple CDs. So I graduated from films to CDs, then to DVDs, then to now internet. So that's how the government communications work started. And it went on even to this day. I'm doing 21 years doing government communications with various departments of the government. And irrespective of party lines, nobody looks at me that she's done work for Congress, so let her not do work for BJP. Yeah. No, it's not like that. Yeah. Irrespective, you can see in the last 21 years, how many governments have come and gone. For all the governments, we have done work. All the chief ministers have been interviewed by me or have been put on camera by me. And it's almost, I think, 10 chief ministers, if I count the present one, who I again did work with, that I have worked with. Yes. So this set my tone, you know, okay, I realized here is a new door opening up, government communications. And it's a wonderful area where they're giving me freedom to work the way I want to work. And I'm dealing with the top level guys, ministers and bureaucrats and those kind of people to build concepts and to build Bangalore. And I kept giving ideas and they kept taking it. And everything went very, very nicely. And then we hit upon 2010, the Global Investors Meet, which was one of the pinnacles of global investors meets in Karnataka. Mr. Yediyurappa was the chief minister. So automatically I got enlisted to become the communications partner. And, they wanted me to build the image of the chief minister. So they went into taking image shots, a photography of the chief minister, then giving him proper scripts to speak and those kind of things. And 2010 was a very, very key turning point for me, where Global Investors Meet, we did I think 8 or 10 films on different sectors that they were proposing to investors, and one main film, which was like the highlight film on Karnataka. So it was a very major job. And again, at that meet, I realized there were a lot of corporate leaders who were coming in to attend the meet, like, for example, Mr. Lakshmi Mittal. He was the chief guest for the 2010 Global Investor Meet. Today, nobody realizes that. Nobody even remembers this. And he was a chief guest. And I I pitched for my department to say, can I interview Mr. Lakshmi Mittal, what he thinks about Karnataka? They said, you must be out of your mind. How can you interview Lakshmi Mittal? Don't ask for all these difficult things. I said, no, I'm going to do it. You need to give it to me. Give me the permission to do it. So they said, okay, but you're on your own. You have to go. You know how the government is, no? Yeah. So they will not do all those final links and all that. But when the final thing happens, they will use that film like anything. You know? But I pushed and I persuaded, and I was waiting at West End Hotel where he was staying. And I said, I'm from the state government. I'm not from the media. So I want to do a sit down interview with you. And he was very sweet. He was very sweet, very humble. And he said, sure, well, come in. And we sat in the suite of his, and we set up the camera. And we did a wonderful 20-minute interview with Lakshmi Mittal. And it was fantastic. We took pictures with him, and my whole team was so jazzed, because those days he was the richest guy in the world.
Yeah.
And today, people, because of Ambani, people have forgotten Lakshmi Mittal.
Yes.
And such a lovely person, and I got to learn so much from that interview. And like that, so many dignitaries came to 2010 meet, and I did interviews with almost everybody who had come there, including the Americans from GE who came, the top level guys from GE, to Kumaramangalam Birlas, to the Godreges, to everybody who had come for that meet. So I had set up my, small little booth in that venue, and we had my camera, and my team was sitting there all the time. Whoever you see, you get them and put them there and make an interview. And they started endorsing for Karnataka. They said, this is a lovely climate, whatever. They started endorsing for Karnataka, and it became a very, very big chunk of endorsements that the government got through this effort. And like this, it just went on to 2012 meet, 2014, 2016, I think there was a half-hearted global investors meet. So all these, my films were used all over. By then, this was set for me as a path. And I had enjoyed working like this because it gave you a very vast arena to project your own state to the world.
Yeah.
And to use wonderful concepts we used music videos, we used music, we used culture, we used so many different things to communicate. And they became very, very significant milestones for building Karnataka's brand. And at the same time, I said, I'm not going to be dependent on one lateral domain. So I started curating healthcare communications. I came to know about, those days it was Wokhart Hospital on Cunningham Road. And Dr. Vivek Javli was the topmost cardiac surgeon there. And he, somewhere he met me, and he realized that, I was making films for the government. So he said, what is this? You're making films for the government. Why can't you make some films for us? I need some of my surgeries to be shot, and can you do it for me? I said, sure, why not? Let me try it out. It was a mind-boggling shift for me to go into OTs and start shooting surgeries for Dr. Javli. And it was such an amazing experience. I realized that my next high after government was in healthcare. And here was another open door for me to come in and experiment and do all the things that I wanted to do. And we just went full-fledged, and we did some very significant surgery films for Dr. Javli. Then Wokhart came and they said, do our marketing film. We started doing marketing films. And from Wokhart Films, Manipal Group started noticing. Manipal Group called me and they said, can we do some work together? And we started making films for Manipal Group. Then Wokhart became Fortis. So a huge amount of work from Manipal and from Fortis on medical tourism. I must have done some 100+ patient experience stories for both these hospitals on foreign patients. So the creative freedom, and you go into a hospital, you shoot the patient's experiences, then you try different things, and it was very well accepted. And you started making very subject-specific films in healthcare, bariatric surgery or knee replacements, and those kind of things. You did umpteen number of films that we did for both the hospitals. And NU Hospital many hospitals like that, where I started really curating this healthcare communications, and it really worked wonders for us. And we even did a television series in Kannada for Fortis. I think it was almost 24 episodes we did on television, and I was in charge of that. So this way, these two areas opened up very well for me. And in the year, I think about 15 years ago is when I started this company, where I started putting up infrastructure with the profits that I had earned. One. Number two, whoever works with me needs to be paid on time. These are the two principles that I kept very close to my heart and started working, building my company. Small team, 2-3 people started with me. And I started with small amounts, small billings, and then it started growing and then having good profits, because I would realize it's important to save on productions, not important to go and wasteful expenditure on hiring high-end cameras and things like that. So it was all very rationally managed. And I realized that it's important for me to be on these two principles forever in my life. And third, more than these two, were the ethical and the transparency of working. Because I'm working with government, I don't want anyone to point fingers at me saying that I'm bribing an official or I'm doing something else and getting a job. So that was very important. So there was never a bribe given till date, or never a commission given to anybody on any of my billings. And I'm very proud of that kind of ethical work. 2010, when I was doing this work, media recognized and they did a lot of cover stories on me. Like Hindu did a huge cover story on me. Indian Express did stories on me. And at the same time, during all this happening, I was wanting to do films on my own. I wanted to do documentaries. Okay, I'm doing all this, but ultimately, socially relevant, meaningful work, which gives me satisfaction. So then came Rajkumar's death. And when he died, I realized there was so much of vacuum and so much of emotions all over the state. I said, hey, what is this phenomena that I want to explore? I wanted to explore this, I said. Then I started digging deep into that. And I said, let me make a documentary on the phenomena called Rajkumar. So that was my first, my own venture, which I took about 2 years to research and to shoot and to edit and to come to terms with. And in that course, I met the family and asked them for permission. Again, I wanted to do it very, very transparently, getting permission from Mrs. Paratama and everybody. And she gave me a written permission. She said, okay, you can do what you want. And the children were very happy that somebody was doing this. And I did. And I decided to do it in English because I wanted to take Rajkumar to the rest of the world, enter it into festivals and things like that. So again, a lot of people opposing. No, this is what is it. We have kept him too close to our borders. He needs to reach out. So I went, I pursued, then Ramesh Arvind, I approached him to do my anchoring for that film and give the voiceover, because I wanted another reputed person to do this. And I wanted to interview Amitabh Bachchan for the documentary. And people started telling me, what are you, crazy? What kind of dreams do you have, I do want it because Amitabh is a very good friend of Rajkumar. And I will be the only person again who talked to him about Rajkumar. Then 6 months pursuing Amitabh Bachchan, writing mails. That time, fortunately, we had internet and we could work on mails and in phones and all that. So mail, 6 months it took me. Finally, I got permission. And he gave me a time slot in Bombay when he was shooting for Bhutnath. Yeah, he was shooting for Bhutnath and he gave me the time. He said, you can do it in my caravan or wherever you want to do it. And I got a 20-minute exclusive interview with Amitabh at that time. And, it kept me going. And and then the documentary on Rajkumar turned out to be quite successful. Oh. And it got featured in some of the festivals, Goa Festival, Bangalore Festival, it started. Those days, I didn't know how to enter it into more festivals. Then Puneet and these children, they really loved the documentary. And Puneet said, can you give me 300 copies of the documentary? I want to share it with the rest of the world. So I made 300 DVDs with the packaging and everything, and then went and gave it to Puneet. And that began an association with Puneet then. And I screened the documentaries at some major bookshops, like Oxford Bookshop and Indian Institute of World Culture and all that. I screened that documentary, and Puneet was gracious to come for all the screenings when I called him. And then Ashwini also became very close to us. And that's how that bond again has lasted even to this day. And we have started working with PRK Productions also. And because of that one documentary led it into another documentary for the government on Rajkumar, when they opened up the Rajkumar Smaraka. And then every year on his birthday, I decide to do a documentary for his April birth anniversary and death anniversary, which falls in April. So even last year, Puneet commissioned a project, which I gave him the idea. Let's do a documentary on the statues of Rajkumar. What is this socio-cultural, psychological perspective of statues? And we explored that deeply in the documentary. We called it Sthira Chetana. And it again turned out to be something very unusual documentary. And Puneet and Ashwini were so overwhelmed with this documentary, and they released it on their channel. It was a PRK production, and we were in discussions for many other projects also. And unfortunately, this happened, and I have to now pick up the threads with Ashwini and see where we are going. So that is a whole thing. And then in the middle of all this, there was a film industry, Kannada. 75 years of Kannada cinema, that I did a documentary. Again, the only document on Kannada cinema, which was done for Amrita Mahotsava. And that time, Madam Jaimala was in charge. And she said, I want a woman filmmaker to do this. And they selected me. And I was again very thrilled at that. And, these are some of the things that give you the high, not a newspaper article, but you get chosen, you get called, you get, the prized projects. And like that, life has flown by. And, we are sitting comfortably here today. Well balanced. I have an excellent team of people and a good infrastructure and everything. I couldn't have asked for more support. And we've been making films, and we are able to today give a lot of our time to making films for social causes, where I strongly believe that the power of the audiovisual medium can actually make a change in people. And we started working on a series called Manava. Wherever you are, whoever you are, like Kuvempu said, be a human first. Manavanagiru. So on that inspiration, we started a series called Manava, where we are portraying ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And that's a long series. It's on our channel, and we pitch quietly doing this on our own. And we work on projects like organ donation, rare diseases, and especially organ donation. Because of what happened to Harish, we followed him. The guy who pledged his eyes when his body was cut into two. The story really shook me up and said, no, this time to do something more. And we started that, and we got involved with Narayana Netralaya for their organ pledging campaign. And we've been doing a lot of films on our own. It's not commissioned by them, but whenever we want to hold a camp, they come and help us with the logistics. So these are the kinds of things. I think now we are going into the area of martyred soldiers, doing a documentary for a good friend of mine who lost her husband in the 1999 conflict in J&K. And it's called The Saga of a Brave Heart. And this is again, out of my social concern, I'm doing it. It's not for money. And it's something that is going to, I think, again, transform how we think about soldiers and their families. We've been really dealing with that documentary, just like how we would deal with a feature film. My team is working with me on that. It's been a year of work, and we'll be releasing it on April 1st. You talk of religious, you talk of corporate, you talk of social causes, you talk of NGOs, you talk of anything and everything we are involved with today. but the recognition and the trust and the belief of people in your work and in your creative abilities is I think, very endearing.
Your 21 years since 2000 seems to have brought out a very different Maya from the Maya who returned from Boston.
Yes.
And Maya has grown literally.
Yes.
And have the last 2 years shifted anything in you? Because you had seen a lot much before that. But have the last 2 years been significant in any way for you?
See, in the last 2 years has been significant because it's a relearning, reimagining of how you should do business.
Yeah.
And that's where I have had to take a special time off to understand how am I going to do this now. And, fortunately for us, we're probably the only people who got work through this pandemic. The Brajmandal Parikram came in the heart of the pandemic. And we were working on it for 3 months, and the shoot itself was 17 days in Vrindavan, in North India. So it didn't seem like that for me, that I have lost business or that I have lost anything. And there was a lot of online projects that I was getting, where I would coordinate online and I would work with my editor sitting at home. And we had learned how to do this at that time, not being here physically, but working online, all of us. And we did do a lot of creatively compelling work at this time. And again, it's a blessing. Not everybody will get work during pandemic, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
But fortunately for me, my team was also available. They were all at home. They had equipment at home, and they were able to edit and send it back. And we were able to send it to the client and get it approved. And a couple of months passed by like this, when we were doing. And then the Braj Mandal came from ISKCON. And that literally made us work for almost 6 months continuously. And that kept us completely occupied. And we were never felt like, oh God, what's going to happen tomorrow? Are we going to get any work? No, it didn't happen. Because I again used that time to do a lot of social causes and work for, I'm involved with the Association for the Mentally Challenged. And I started making small films for them to keep the children perked up and the mentally challenged special children perked up. And the organization needed help online to raise funds. So I made films for that. And so it was like channelizing your energies into something to help other people and to make films that would elevate another person's life. And we got involved with the police department. They were doing a lot of corona relief work. And I went with my iPad and I started shooting and I started making films for them so they could publicize on their social media campaigns. And on our own, we did an anthem for Corona with some of the top singers. And everybody was like pitching in for this, and no one charged each other. So everything we did online, they recorded online, we edited online. And then we released the anthem, Karnige Kanuva Devaru Anta. We released an anthem for Corona warriors. This again became very big success. We had Raghu Dikshit on it, we had Varija on it. Those kind of people, and it just sailed through, and I think we are back in normalcy now, working day and night here, and we're all enjoying that.
Three life lessons, Maya, that you'd like to leave us with.
3 life lessons are, I think positive thinking is very important. Whether you're in a good shape or in a bad shape, whichever shape you are, positive thinking is very important. And, I think it's important for you to find happiness in whatever you're doing and not keep complaining all the time. I don't have this, I don't have that. No, it's okay. You be happy with yourself first and radiate that happiness. And then that everything else comes back to you. And hard work. One cannot compromise on hard work. You have to work very, very hard to reach what you want to reach. And compromise, it is part of your life. See, I have stayed single, I have stayed on my own. And I have, if I had to mix family and this, it was not going to work. I realized that because I am not the kind of person who can manage both. I was very focused on my career. I had to build that up. I had to be independent. I had to have my own life. And it was not going to mix up. So that's where you made a conscious choice and conscious decision to stay like this. And I have no regrets. No, you should never regret. Whatever happens, today also I tell my team, hey guys, listen, whatever is happening for the good. Do not think that, hey, what to do, this is happening. No, no, there's something else around the corner that some divine force is pushing you for it. And we need to look at it like that. And that's how the positivity keeps multiplying.
True, very true. So continue being the inspiration, Maya, that
Yes,
you
Rashmi.
are.
Yes.
And
Thank
no,
you so
unlike
much.
your name, you are for real. Be the beacon light that you have been in an area that women hardly tread into.
Thank you, Rashmi.
With that, we come to the end of this weekly quest of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know people who make the world beautiful. Write in to rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is RASHMI dot THETHIRDEYE@gmail.com. Come, let's explore this amazing world together, both you and I.